I get a, do I need a motion for that?
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
For the agenda. And next thing we have the minutes. Any comments or adjustments to the minutes from last meeting? If not, can we have a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting?
I move we accept the minutes.
And can we get a second?
Second.
And all in favor say aye.
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 Motion done. Last, fourth item, public comment structure. Do you get any questions?
And if I can step out for a second, we have a new staff person I was hoping to be able to say hello.
And after we do that, do we actually want to have Heather
Yeah,
go
let's have
next?
Heather go.
Yep.
So we can put Heather up next,
Okay.
right here, 7-1, put it up there.
Aren't you glad that eggs are back to more normal prices?
Say again.
Eggs are back to more normal prices. We had a benefit, this is recorded, I don't know. I go to gym a lot and this lady has a chicken farm, a chicken coop. So she'll bring chicken eggs to us every time we go for class in the morning at the CCC. So after class she'll dish out a couple of dozen eggs.
You were living high for a while.
Oh yeah. and organic, farm raised. Can't beat that.
Is he coming?
Jake is out at one of the other branches and hasn't returned back yet. So
Okay.
we'll just pass on that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you for waiting, sorry.
Yep, absolutely.
So did we get any public input from anybody else?
Nope, I haven't received anything.
Okay. In that case, we're going to go to the next item on the adjusted agenda. The Heather Wagon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right?
Hi,
Hi Heather.
Hi, so it's me already, huh? Wow, time flies. I am Heather Wiegand. I'm the Youth Services Librarian at Chanhassen and also the chair for the collection team. And so my job today is to kind of pick up where we left off when we last briefed everybody in November about the goings-on of the collection team for 2022. Some of the things back then that we were working on were doing things to increase accessibility to different collection areas, changing things like that, moving things around, doing diversity audits. And so the pie chart that we have here.
Excuse me, hey Heather, it's Patrick.
That-
Patrick, just one second. If anyone wants
Yeah.
to go in your packet and get the
yeah.
nice pie chart, I just want everyone to get the handout in front of them.
Very excited about the pie chart.
Well, it's Pie Day, that's why I did it. If it would have been Graph Day, then it would have been a bar chart. Or if it would have been after 7, it would have been a bar chart. For the open bar
So
chart.
the pie chart there
Okay,
is an illustration of some of the achievements. So some of all of the things that we worked on during 2022, this pie chart shows one of the outcomes. It's showing you what patrons are checking out in 2022. And so we use data like this and lots of other data to help us, to help inform our decisions for the year for the collection team, so especially for the budget. So that's the next pie chart that you see right there. And so we use a lot of reporting through Blue Cloud Analytics, and it's helped us a lot since we've had it for about the last 2 years. It allows us to run all these different kinds of reports that generates data that we're able to use for these collection development and maintenance and budget allocation decisions. So that, in combination with other things like door counts, will help inform some of the things that we're going to do when we're adjusting the different allocations for different areas. So as you can see on the second pie chart, we've got, we show youth. The youth print is 34%. The adult print is 34%. There are some, those are the two biggest collections. And those are the two biggest areas for circulation, but we're seeing that there is an uptick in digital. So right now, as we're looking at these takeaways from the data that we've gotten over 2022, we're seeing that one of the first things that we have to think about is print versus digital. So we're seeing reduce those door counts, the other data besides circulation that we pull in to help us make decisions. We're seeing that there is kind of less foot traffic in some of the buildings, which is making the print circulation a little bit lower, but we're also seeing the digital circulation, all of the e-books, the e-audio magazines, we're seeing that increase. And so because of that, we are decreasing some of the print money to move it over to increase some of the digital to meet that demand, because digital circ stats have shown like a 67% increase over last year. So that's one of the ways that we move the budget, but don't worry because print is still going strong. So we also have other areas that we have to kind of weigh. So for instance, we're looking at adult versus youth print materials, and so we're seeing, we're looking at the circulation percent of the whole total and seeing how that weighs with the budget that we're spending on it. So we noticed that youth was underfunded and adult print was overfunded based on circulation. So we've been, decreasing and increasing there. And also, we might decrease in some areas when there is a noticeable drop off in circulation, like with adult graphic novels. We've decreased money there. But other examples might be that we've decreased funding because we've gotten other money from grants for that particular area. So it's gonna look less on the budget, but it's because we've got these other funds coming through. One other thing that is a big deciding factor is when we see collections that are doing really well and have been increasing, we are going to be increasing the spending there, and that's kind of panned out well for us when we started doing that for juvenile graphic novels, putting more money at it, and now it's continuing to increase, so we're gonna up the budget a little bit more there. We also see increases in areas like where we need to do more strategic targeted spending, like in increasing the amount of copies that we have for holds to satisfy hold ratios. Those are just some of the factors that we use for doing adjustments to the budget every year. So it's very data driven, and some of the goals that we have coming into 2023 also relate to, can pull on a lot of that data. There's 8 goals that we have, but I'm just going to point out 2 because I know we don't have a lot of time. So there's 2 that are probably of most interest that will pull a lot of data to help. One of them is run the diversity audits, or a similar project to the adult collection last year. You might remember that the youth services had this initiative to do that, and so it assessed the collection, all of the youth and teen collections, to ensure that we were having appropriate levels of diversity and equity and inclusion within those collections. And so this year, Sarah and Patrick are going to be leading that for the adult team. And they're still exploring whether or not they're going to continue with the same method that we use for youth services, or if they might be able to develop an alternate method for the adult collection. We're hoping that this is going to be done by this summer. So that's a really important goal. Another goal that's really important that we know a lot of people are particularly interested in is exploring the hold budget to meet the hold ratios for media, print, and digital collections, because it's really important to meet the needs of the patrons here. This is the stuff that they're looking for. We know that there's increasing hold lists for various reasons. More people using the library, other neighboring counties using the library, and so we want to make sure that we can get more copies of the hot items that are in print and in digital, and those movies that come through. And so Kristen, Serena, and Sarah have been working on setting up appropriate holds ratios for each of these categories, and so they're working really hard to maintain them by adjusting funding allocations and ordering as much as possible to keep up with that demand. But even with all these good intentions, there are challenges. So this year, some of the primary challenges that we're facing that are kind of beyond our control, we've got a pretty significant delay with shipping from our primary book vendor. This has been kind of a thing we've been running up against a lot this year. We aren't getting things as quickly as we have in the past. So we're trying really hard to fulfill all of those holds that the patrons are waiting on, but we've got that. We also have an increased cost in digital and print items because of course, inflation. We're just talking about eggs, but with books and DVDs and ebooks, there's also been a pretty predictable increase there. So that kind of challenges and limits us to our buying power. And then of course we also have staffing changes that are going this year, so that's taking some time to get staffing in place to be able to support all of these collection goals. So just a couple more things. Some of the specific budget requests for 2024 coming next year would be to continue to increase that funding for digital collections. And of course, we've got mobile hotspots that have been really hot, especially as more people have been working and doing schoolwork remotely. We're seeing a lot of people coming in looking for those hotspots, so we need to move from private funding to public funding for that. Also, we need to increase some of our budget for the materials processing from the vendors, because they're the ones that do all of the labels and Mylar jackets and stuff, and their fees are going up too. And then also, a lot of movies and TV shows are being released solely on Blu-ray, so that's made it hard for us to get everything that patrons have requested. So we're hoping that we can have some additional money to target to buy some of these TV series and movies that we haven't been able to get, but we'll be able to get if we can pay for the Blu-ray. So that's about it.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm just curious,
Yeah,
was the collection budget increased from year on year or
no,
was flat?
collection budget's been flat since I've been here, which actually means it decreases with inflation.
Yeah, can we go there?
And not just inflation of how much it costs to buy the stuff. This year was getting a significant increase in, as Heather said, we pay to have things processed and cataloged. And they've raised that price substantially, all of our vendors. So our buying power is probably, I think Heather, I think Sarah figured, what was it, Heather? Like, we have like actually $10,000 less money once we figure it all just in.
Right, it's a pretty substantial amount.
Yeah.
Just year on year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Patrick, does that mean that your existing collection just gets stale because the shelves are still full, they just keep the old stuff longer?
We've been trying to be very robust in weeding. So it actually means the shelves are a little bit barer because we don't want old stuff on the shelf. Like one of the big projects that Heather and I are working on is we got these Dalkey grants, which you guys looked at, for STEM materials for kids and health materials for adults. So we want to weed out all that old stuff to make room for the new stuff. Yeah, but so the new shelves are a little bit not as robust as they used to be. There just isn't as much money. And certainly we're spending a lot, as Heather mentioned, a lot more in digital. We went from 24% to 27%.
Yeah, because the breakdown, the ratio doesn't tell the story on how inflation impacts the
Right.
ability to acquire.
Well, that'd been another chart. We wanted to keep it
You
to
might have to
two.
put in a bar.
2 pies, no
Two
more.
pies.
Yes,
You
you may
only get 2 pies,
You
Charles.
may get a bar next time because you won't be pied in
All right,
anymore.
open bar chart.
Thanks. That's my question.
Anything else for Heather?
I have a question. What is the Blu-ray?
Blu-ray is an alternative format. It's kind of taken over from DVDs.
Yeah.
It's just a higher quality.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see.
It's like when DVDs took over from VHS.
Right.
And we have a current AV budget, so we were like, oh, why don't we just start buying Blu-rays? Then we got 2 mediocre collections.
Right.
So the request here is, can we really get enough money to start and have a big, nice collection to start with? Then we can cut up the AV budget a little bit more. But, you know, I learned from doing this at Hennepin with some other collections is, you don't start something with a little amount of money, because then you just like, oh, we got Blu-ray now. Yeah, we got 20 of them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Here's what I don't know what she said. Here's what I love about children's librarians. So Heather this morning had 50 kids at a story time.
Holy cow.
And she's like singing and leading in the story time. And this afternoon, she was running some statistics, in case you asked for some more detailed information. And then tonight she gets to present to the library board. So I just, you know, without, she didn't bring her guitar for that.
I think you just scared her away.
Yeah.
She must be.
Was the 50 all live? Would then you guys do it online too? Or
No,
was it
no, we don't
accessible
do,
online?
no, all, that was 50 kids, so we got another, so it's like
50
100
kids and
people in
plus
the wild
parents.
room today. It was wonderful.
That's good. Next item, we're going to go to unfinished and new businesses. I think we had the legislative days. Do you have
Yep,
that?
so I will give a brief update. I unfortunately couldn't go for the whole day as it turned out with my schedule, but a couple of updates regarding the sessions in the morning from the MELSA board. And then I'll chat a little bit about a visit that I accompanied Commissioner Uterman on. But the morning sessions went very well, to my understanding. Very great energy, positive feedback in terms of the sessions that were presented. Scott Vreezy, who's the executive director of MELSA, told our board that it was literally a library love fest that morning. So there was a real positive vibe that the additional what are called RBLSS, the regional support funding, that there's potential to move forward with an increase in that this year. They feel really positive right now. Now, that being said, there's more work to do before that decision is made. So MELSA colleagues last week were talking about, doing additional visits with some of their legislators, sending letters, follow-up calls, emails, those sorts of things, just to keep that energy vibrant, to keep it going. So I was not there for that morning session, but then had an opportunity to accompany Commissioner Uterman and Scott to a visit with Senator Julia Coleman, and we had a really great conversation with her. I think went really well. And you're welcome to add. You were maybe going to talk about it later, but had a good visit with her, just talking about the work that we're doing, not only MELSA-wide, but for Carver County and kind of the direction that's headed. So she was, I think one of the high points was learning about Libby for her, and she was going to drop her Audible account immediately. So
You're saving the senator money.
yeah. So I do know that Scott Vreezy and I are planning to follow up with Representative Lucy Ream. She's the author of the education bill, so we want to talk with her further. I think she's interested to hear a little bit about the potential of a new Chaska library as well. So I will keep you all in the loop on that, and let you know when that visit might be scheduled and whether that might just be off-site or something virtually, so I'll keep you in the loop on that. I don't know if if you want to add anything, Commissioner Uterman, at
I
this
think
moment.
this is Senator Coleman's home library. She's got 3 kids, so it's near and dear to her. We did touch on the politics of library because oftentimes people think libraries are pro-Democrat and anti-Republican, of which Coleman's a clear Republican. And she's like, I guess I don't see it that way. I'll support the $4 million bill. And then yes, hours after we left, Scott followed through and got her hooked up with Audible or whatever the digital version is. And so her commute and others' commutes from Waconia to St. Paul and back, a lot of her time is on conference calls and listening to audiobooks. So I thought that was cool, real-time application of connecting the dots to have it make impact to her immediately. So yeah, that's the only thing I'd add.
Yeah, and she talked about homeschooling and how libraries can have an impact on that as well. So that was part of our conversation as well. So, yeah.
Just a side note, is she the daughter of, or related to Norm Coleman?
Daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Washington, met my family, and I rode to his office, and
Yeah.
actually he took us around.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next item, request for reconsideration.
Yeah,
This
so,
form.
I don't know, like 2 years ago, we had a request for reconsideration, and I pulled up the form, and it didn't have a place for a person's email address. So I thought maybe this form needs to be updated. So the collection team, we did 3 things. We looked at the old form, we pulled off some things we really liked. We went and looked at other forms in the Metro Library that we could find. Some of them make them not easy to find, which strategically you could argue for or against that. Ours is going to be on our website, so people can find it. But the third thing we did is we went to the American Library Association, and they had basically a template. It's like, if you're doing a reconsideration form, here are the things to consider. So the collection team mooshed all those together, and we came up with this form. We're bringing it to your attention because you are the final arbitrators on this.
Yeah, I noticed.
Which has always been the case. This just spells it out. The collection team thought it was really important that when a person gets the form, that they get a consistent message, so it's not a staff member, thinking they know what happens. It was like, you hand this form in, this is what's going to happen. We thought that was respectful of the person doing it. So I think it's pretty straightforward. It's a bunch of questions, and they just have to answer the questions. And we thought an important one, a very important one, was to see if they had an active library card. Because a lot of what we're seeing in other library systems are people who are trying to request materials from collections that either don't live in that school district or are public library members that don't use the library. They just got a list someplace of books that should be taken out of the library. So we feel very strong about this form. But we're obviously open to your guidance of anything you'd like to see changed.
So just for clarification, this form is both for taking something off or and adding something on to?
No, this is for just, you want to reconsider what we have. So this is for, there's a form to add, if people want to add something to the collection,
Okay.
you ought to have this book, that form's already there. This is specifically, and if you go on our website, where it says the collection policy, which you guys, I think approved this year, maybe
Right.
last year. And within the policy, it says there is a process and a form for reconsideration. This is the form that will be underneath that.
I thought it was like if they requested a book and it wasn't approved,
No.
then they can request a reconsideration of why you didn't approve that book.
No, this is for something we've already bought and they went off the shelf. There's also the other here, because we recently had one, the person didn't fill out the form, we did it by email, didn't like a flyer that we had up. Or the location of the flyer, it was more that. So in theory, we could have said to this person, hey, you don't want us to do it, fill out this form, but we handled that. That was a little bit more informal, but this is very, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is standard in every library. You have this form and this process.
So out of curiosity, do we get a lot of that?
More this year.
More this year than
Yeah.
previously. Mm-hmm.
I handled one in 2018, none in 2019, and this year I think we've had 3. And the person's never followed up. Jody sends a letter, says, thank you, but we're going to keep it, and if you don't agree, come to the library board and make your case, and no one has chosen to do that.
So for context, for those that aren't aware, this is political football oftentimes, and so it's happening in the school districts, and it's getting a lot of fanfare at the national level. The school district spent an exorbitant amount of time processing one request last year. And they have a very full committee of 14 individuals, including students, that sit on that committee, and they read it and review it, and it's taken very seriously. In fact, this conversation is right on the heels of the superintendent's parent advisory from 2 weeks ago, where they detailed it. And it's a high level of sensitivity when you go through this, because it's people are emotionally charged on a lot of this stuff. And when you get through the context, outside of that one paragraph in that one book, and that book that hasn't been checked out for 6 years, right? It really is oftentimes a political football,
Right.
and that's why we have these processes in play.
What's a political football?
One side wants to enrage another side and poke them in the eye, and it's really, it's a hair on an elephant's ass when you really look at the total number of pages and books that are in our libraries.
A hair on an elephant's ass.
Yeah.
Let the minutes reflect.
I mean, if somebody else wants to offer, I mean, we take these serious, and,
Yeah.
and there's a process for it, but oftentimes people aren't interested in that there's a
I
firm
think
process.
we do it for the sake of doing it and making a statement out of it rather than truthfully being concerned about that.
So the bottom line is it's just sort of overkill.
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes there's legitimacy and concern, but when you paint the context of how you can check out, and I know the context of a school is different than the context of a public library, but the context of a school is what's age appropriate, and there's safeguards so that a kid can actually, if parents want to call in and say they're not allowed to have, they're triggered by horror books, they're not allowed to X, Y, or Z. And so anyway, I think this process is good, that we're buttoned up and we're responding to the needs of our community, but
This is something I asked about, a couple of years ago, and I'm really glad to see that it's being formalized, and because it will occur.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as serious as it is in school libraries for public libraries, but it will occur.
mhm.
And we've been fortunate that nothing has reached the board yet,
Yeah.
but I expect it.
And sorry, Frank.
And I think this form would be extremely useful, because this gives the information we would need to make a decision. And especially, I would assume that whoever has completed this form, if they're serious about it, they would want to plead their
Yep.
case. And it's nice to have something in writing
Yep.
when they do plead there.
Before it happens, I was thinking, do we have a reconsideration library board report form for us, if it ever comes to that?
There's not. I think it would simply be a vote, that the person would come here and say, I have this letter from the director that says you're gonna keep this book on the shelf. I want to appeal to you to take it off the shelf. And so whatever discussion about it would just be in the minutes. There's not like a form though for you to report back.
Yeah,
You would simply take a vote and, and that's what would come down to. If you want me to develop something like that, I certainly can, but that's how I see it happening. Is not a formal reporting back. The person would be here in person and be able to hear what you said.
I was thinking maybe procedurally, if someone comes in for any form of petition, that we should have a kind of a format on how to proceed with that, and to make sure that we properly vet and take the request seriously.
I wrote down a few points of what should be included in it. I've been thinking about that, because I know they keep statistics all the way to the Library of Congress, and so they can see the trends of what the, let's not call them complaints, or their requests is a better word.
Petition, you mean?
Well, what I can certainly do is I can go out, Jan, and just look around, see if there is a document that does exactly what you say, that, or some context for if you do have to report, if you do have to take a vote, what that looks like, and report back.
Yeah, I think like what, sorry,
Matt, that's fine.
Matt, people come, when they come to this kind of situation, at this stage, when they come to this stage, there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And we need to kind of separate the emotion part from the rational part of it. And so putting a kind of a framework to it, helps eliminate the emotion and say, okay, what did you verbalize? Did it make sense? And whatever process we put in formalizes it rather than makes it very. Obviously, we haven't had to encounter a situation like this, so it's never, But it looks like, what you said is that it's becoming more and more prevalent. So having a format, having a process to take the emotion out of the discussion is a good approach to it.
Well, I'd say 3 challenges in a year, an average of 1 a year, across tens of millions of pages, is minuscule.
Yeah.
And it needs to happen. There needs to be a process. But I heard somebody say this when I first came on library board. If you can't find something that offends you in a library, you're probably not in a library. And you don't have to read any of it, and you can read all of it if you want. And I think the safeguards at a school are even heightened because of age and whatnot. And how they land on it, it's really the parents and the family's decision, and they've got the safeguards to make that happen. And we do too. We're not going to our librarians aren't letting people out the door with something that we think is going to, not work with the family life. So, good.
Probably the same thing in church, huh?
Probably. Yeah.
So out of curiosity, and then I asked, one more dumb question, because we used to have is there like a part of the library that says only adults can go in there and not kids, kind of a thing?
In a public library, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
Just checking.
Yep. Having said that, of course, our libraries are divided by teen materials, youth materials, and adult materials.
Right.
But if a 10-year-old, I'm very sensitive to this because some of you may know I'm also an author, and the stuff I write about, I would not want a 10-year-old to read. But I'm also of the belief that if a 10-year-old would pick up one of my books, they'd be very confused by page 15. Because they would not understand the emotions these teenagers are going through because they're 10. So again, context, they would have no context of what is going on. So part of it is we think that and then what we, there is something to offend everyone, and hopefully for every child, there is a parent who is concerned what they're reading and can have that conversation with them. The difference is at a public library, it's the parent's job to have that conversation, not our job to have it.
And Patrick would like nothing more than one of his books to be banned because the
tell you.
sales would go through the roof.
Yeah.
I want to buy the banned book.
You gotta be a bit more provocative in your books.
Hey, I won't say what I wrote a book about. I was very depressed it didn't get banned.
Well, in summary, why everything goes so well is because you know what libraries do best.
Yeah.
They help all of us find the right book, the right fit.
All right, so I will see if I can follow up about what you brought up, Jan, and bring it to you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good job, Patrick.
thank you.
Going down the agenda on the section 7 administrative reports, I guess we go straight to budget updates. Did I miss anything else?
No, I don't think so, yeah. So budget updates, yesterday we finalized our rollover requests to county finance and submitted those. So when we know more finalization of that, I should say, I can report back on that. Although one piece is just making sure that we have funds that were designated from MELSA phase funds that will be rolled over in the county budget to support and fund new catalog libraries for all of our branches, which is very exciting. So that's one of the requests that will be moving forward in that process. And I know staff and management team are anxious for that new technology to arrive, certainly. So that's a big piece of what really we've been working on with the budget, and I know I talked about that last month, but it's a big process to work through all of that. Next week we have our work group that will meet and really delve into our 2023 budget to see where we're at with things, see how, what kind of progress we're making, and helping us to guide us as we look to 2024 already. So That's just a real broad overview. Again, the big piece was just finalizing those rollover requests as we move forward.
I was just curious, like when we approved the Dalkey funding last year, how are they're not reflected in the budget, are they?
Yes, but not, there's a separate report, separate accounts that get run through finance that we track.
Okay.
And then, obviously, we've taken a look, part of this whole rollover process was looking at what wasn't spent,
Right.
if any, and then that is submitted as what's called a budget amendment to move forward then back into
You just roll
the,
it to next year?
yep, into the broader Dalkey fund, if that makes sense, yep. Or for the instance of, say, like our, one of our projects, Next Chapter Book Club, which was projected as like a 5-year project plan, so those funds will get rolled over specifically for that line item, so, yeah.
Just curious, like, like we had some that was originally earmarked in the first round that were not completed. So what's your, not just the budget wise, but from a planning wise, do you see them getting completed or what's your thought on that?
Yes, and I'm looking at Paul, because it's the media conversion project, if you'd
Right.
like to speak to that.
Yeah,
Yep.
no deer in the headlight that time. Which can happen with alarming regularity. But, we purchased two of the big ticket items, which are the laptops, which are very beefed up.
Those are the digital conversion project.
For the media conversion project, right. So these will be, the base workstation are laptops, we've got 2 of them. And those are the big ticket items. Those have been purchased, they're in, staff have been working on the configuration on them, getting the software loaded, things like that. We've picked up some of the other cabling and other necessary things, and so I don't have any doubt that we will spend down everything that's in there by the end of the year, and we will have the project rolling along. It's been slow going, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I would say that we've talked about this in a variety of different formats, and I'm not speaking out of turn, I don't think, in saying that the Dalkey grant is absolutely tremendous, not to take a stitch away from it, but it does place an extra workload on staff, managers, and other supervisors, people like that, whereas we've built in like substitute time into the grants, that helps, but it's not all of the staffing resources that are needed to move these along. So we will get there, it's just slower going, and but slow and steady.
The ones for 2023, some of them are done, the mobile hotspots are bought or paid for, the charging stations are in. For the STEM Kids grant, the programs for spring are planned. About one third of the budget is spent on materials. For the health literacy grant for adults, the spring and summer programs are planned. Almost all of the money is spent for digital collection already. The diversity story time, again, we've had some staffing issues, so that one hasn't really kicked off like we wanted it to. The games grants, the games are bought. We're just doing the programming this summer. And you should know about the Dalkey grant is as Paul will know, the first of every month, they get a very naggy email from me.
Oh, I get a warm fuzzy from you, I
Yes.
really do.
That says, here's what was supposed to have been done last month, here's what you have to do this month.
Also, you continue to track it.
Yeah, so I have a big tracking document that has every grant, what's due each month, and to keep people on top.
It's like, I'm sorry, I'm sidetracking here, so things going on my mind. Like, so when you say we budgeted, let's say $1,000, just for discussion purpose, do you have a flexibility or up and down 10% kind of a thing? So that if you spend $1,050, it'll be fine still.
No, I would say we haven't been following that model. We've been trying to really stay right at, or, obviously under, but, yeah, being really careful not to go over, yeah.
And I would, again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, with the Next Chapter Book Club, right, which was not a high dollar amount. It took us a while. The biggest challenge that I felt we had as a manager was getting the rhythm of that event fit into our already very robust program schedule, right? Because it requires 2 staff to be a part of it at the same time. Plus, there's really no wiggle room for not having 2 staff, so we have to be sure that we've got number 3 and number 4 waiting in the wings to jump in should somebody be sick. That was the challenge, that's why it was delayed. We've now got that built into the staff schedules. It's been going since the beginning of the new year, 2 times a month up at the Watertown branch. One of the things we came to realize as we started implementing it and then digging deeper into the training and the program model that's provided by the organization that has designed this, and that is that food, having snacks, many times these book groups will meet in a restaurant. That's not our model, so we're providing snacks. We didn't build that into the budget. We built in funding for books, but not goldfish and water bottles, right? You know, and so we're now tapping. We have donor funds, right, in a restricted account for each branch, and so the Watertown restricted account where we've got donor funds are being used to purchase these, and it's not a big ticket item. My point is that we're honoring the budget, right? And I didn't try and sell, you know, giving goldfish and water into the expense thing. It said books, that's what we're using it for. We missed it. We now are doing it, and we're finding other donor funds to supplement it. And then next year, when we write the request for next year, we will build into that what we've learned this year. And we're also expecting, I wouldn't be surprised, we'll see another branch or 2 at least, also implementing this program model. Not a promise, but that's what I'm hearing staff chatter about. So that's a little bit longer winded, but
No, that makes sense.
it's honoring, the short version is we honor what we put into the grant request, and then we have to find something else, we'll figure it out.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Please.
I was with Bountiful Basket today. It's a food shelf in Chaska, and they're looking at potentially expanding. And they have a program where they make 400 snacks available to school teachers.
Yep.
And a lot of those don't know about it and don't claim it. And obviously the point of it is so that healthy snacks are in the hands of teachers so they don't have to hit their own budget. But it might be a good partnership to consider, being a non-school on the list, because I'm guessing that you probably serve some of those same needs within library. So just offering that, if you want the connection, I'd be happy to give it.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry to sidetrack.
No.
No, great questions.
You took one of my items off of my branch report.
So next item we have is the library director report.
Sure. I'll just touch on a couple of highlights. One of which we now have both our strategic plan, our new strategic plan, and our annual report posted on the website available for public to view. And so thanks to Patrick and Susan Bernstein for helping to facilitate that. I think it will be great to have those available. Let's see. Another piece that well, Sim may not be viewing it as a highlight at the moment, but we have made the migration shift over to Microsoft Teams from our SharePoint connection, and that's a huge shift because we've been on connection for such a long time and so ingrained in that as part of our daily routine. And so the county as a whole is making this shift, and so our migration happened last week, and so there's a lot of work and training we need to do along the way, but just wanted to make you aware of that. So that's something that is part of everyone's daily routine right now, trying to navigate and learn and make that change, because SharePoint Connection is going to be going away as of October, that product. So. And then at our all-staff meeting in February, we had a presenter speak about 5-star customer service. And so out of that, we've been following up with our staff teams at each of our staff meetings and coming up with some to-dos out of that, some potential ideas, and how we can just make that really tangible and put it right to use. So we're excited about that. We talked about that at our management team meeting. So more on that as the year unfolds. But it's so important, I think, and I think I can speak for Paul and Patrick, when you have an opportunity with a guest speaker that we had to just really, what are the takeaways? How can we make this useful to staff? What can we, and how can we really implement it in our daily work that we're doing with our patrons and communities? So, yeah. Any questions about anything else on the director's report?
Any tips from that Gold Star, how to do something?
Kathy had, the trainer had some really good ideas. I think the three that I can still remember was just that whole idea of, I don't say upselling, because I don't like taking sales ideas and putting them in the libraries. I used to call it one more thing. That whenever you're helping someone, you tell them one more thing or you offer them one more thing. Can I put another book on reserve for you? Did you know we have an author visit? Oh, you have a baby. Do you know we have baby story time? The second was try to always exceed people's expectations. Don't set your people's expectations really high and then lower them. So set realistic expectations so you can exceed them. And then her whole model was this idea of what restaurant would you go to? One-star restaurant is you just want something to eat. You want to get in, you get out, you want something to eat. But you get by the 5-star restaurant, it's about the experience. So it's not just what they leave with, is do they feel welcome? Does the building look nice? Is it clean? Do they actually leave thinking, wow, that was a great experience and I want to go back? And so I know at Chanhassen, I'm actually meeting with Beth tomorrow, and we're going to divide all these ideas that Kathy generated and the staff generated. What's the thing everyone can do without us? Everyone can say hello when people walk in the building. They don't need Beth or I to tell them to do that. Second thing, what are the things that maybe Beth and I can support? One thing, take down these plexiglass barriers.
Say again?
Take down the plexiglass barriers. It's really hard to be warm and inviting when you're doing it through a piece of plexiglass. And the last thing is, what are the things that are going to need a lot more work? And like one of the things at Chanhassen is our whole entryway. When you walk in, we got that cafe sale, which is great for the friends, not so great for the look of the building. We don't really have a place where a person can walk in and go, here's all the programs, here's all the meetings. So kind of rethinking our lobby area. So that's a big customer service to improve people's experience. So they walk into a place that looks really nice. So I don't know if that's how you guys are going to approach it, but basically what can we do today, what can we do tomorrow, what's going to take a few weeks?
Yep.
Or maybe a few months.
Exactly.
Thank you, Patrick. That's
Yeah.
good answer.
And the woman who's the trainer I worked with 28 years ago at a library in Cleveland.
Oh.
We were looking for possible trainers. I'm like, I recognize that name.
That's pretty cool you remember so many. Okay, and next item, any other questions for the library guy? Was there anything from Nick? Nick is not here.
No, nothing from Nick, other than that the library director position is posted again. The posting closed at the end of the day yesterday. He anticipates kind of a 2-round process, that there'll be a first round interview, and then hopefully I can't talk. Going down to, essentially 2 or 3 candidates in a second round, and having kind of a couple different parts to that as well. Not only library management team involved in that level, but also staff too in that second round. So more to come on that.
Thank you. Trustee and commissioner reports.
For Chanhassen, just go ahead and open up the document. I want to point out 3 things. I'm going to cheat and have number one, my 3 things be 3 things, which are the 3 pictures of our author visits. That's something we can do really well at Chanhassen because we have the big Wilder meeting room. We have 2 authors who are chefs and write cookbooks, so that was really cool. And then Josh Nolan is a mystery author. Second thing I wanted to point out was, we've mentioned this before, this happens in all the libraries, but I just got a really good picture this time on page 4, which is Tales for Reading. And so this is a great, low-cost, high-return program that we do at all of our libraries. And I just was working that day, so I got a really nice picture. And then the last one is, I probably give you guys too many pictures, so I did not make a picture of every single Black History Month display that we did at Chanhassen and Victoria. I just showed you one of them, but we did a numerous number of them, and we redid some book lists. And in February will be, or March will be featuring women's history.
What's the anecdotal feedback when people come in? Can you say or no?
Oh, on the history displays? I know we have to replenish them. The children's one in particular, it just gets wiped out. So no negative feedback whatsoever, and judging, again, anecdotally, just looking at the displays, they seem to be well used. And that's all, you know, that's all I have.
So do you have any special speakers coming in for women?
Yeah, we have two, actually. Tonight, we have Lori Studevant, am I pronouncing it correctly, from the Star Tribune. She is speaking tonight. And then on the last Saturday, we have this is really exciting. It's going to be a woman, a performance artist, leading a workshop helping patrons, primarily women, we would assume, since it's a focus on women's history, tell their own stories. So to turn memories into memoir. I don't remember the exact name of it, but those are the two big things we're doing. And then there's another author at the end of the month as well.
And if I could add with the author talks, they are, if you aren't in person, they are still being live streamed. And then also, then they're eventually make their way onto our Carver County Library YouTube platform and are available for a certain time to view as well. So if you're not able to join us live in person or even live streaming, you can find it later on the YouTube as well, or on Facebook. So.
Okay. Then the Chaska Library.
Sure. I will share three things as well. The Chaska Friends of the Library funded a Brodini magic show for us at the beginning of February to kick off I Love to Read Month. And we just had such a great turnout, such a great energy in the library for that event. Wonderful to welcome people in, and just lots of great feedback. And Brodini made sure, I mean, he interacted, I think, with absolutely every child that was there that day, like before, during, or after. I mean, and he does that during our summer reading program as well, but it's just such a fantastic experience because he just really truly brings like everyone to the table. Everyone's welcome. So great experience. So that we were really glad to be able to do that. A couple of other things that I didn't necessarily note in the report, but a lot of discussion lately surrounding the Highway 41 downtown construction project that's going to be happening beginning really in the next couple of weeks, which is hugely going to impact, you know, all the downtown businesses through November likely. So parking is going to be a very huge challenge near the library and elsewhere in downtown. So we're just, we're trying to stay with our staff and in planning, like for summer reading, stay positive. What can we do? It is going to be challenging. So, but we're looking at more outreach opportunities. Are there other venues in the community that we can bring programs out to? So for instance, we're partnering with the Chaska Community Center. So we're going to do a program up there. We are actually taking one on the road over to Carver. And then just looking at some of our partnerships, like with Officer Julie Janke, and can we do more story times out in the parks, things like that. Obviously, we're still gonna have programs at the library, but we're also working on our communication piece about where do people park, how do you get to us, how do you navigate? So, and our friends met this last weekend, and they still wanna move forward with their book sale for River City Days weekend. So they know that it's a little risky, but they're like, we're gonna do it. So we'll be working with them on that plan as well.
So do they have to do it at the library, or can they do it somewhere else, maybe at CCC?
They're going to keep it at the library out on the plaza area because I think they talked about a couple different scenarios, but to transport all those books up to another location would be such a challenge. So they're gonna keep it, and I should look at Jim because he was there. So yep.
And they do feel that the library book sale attracts people, its own customers outside of Forever City Days. Plus, unless you guys are volunteering to move the books. There's a lot of books.
There's a lot of books, yeah.
With the
Will there be
streets going
issues
up.
with like people working at like your librarians? Will they have any problems getting to the library and parking to work at the library?
So what we learned from, we had a meeting with City of Chaska. Our staff and city staff will really be instructed to park over in the residential areas because there won't be hardly any parking at all on 4th and Pine,
Right.
if you're familiar with those streets, the cross streets there. So certainly if anyone needs, the accessibility piece to be closer in, we've got the City Hall parking lot, but otherwise, a couple of us said, we're gonna bike to work every day, But, it won't be ideal, but hopefully we can do our best and keep the positive vibes.
Biking on 41 coming down be easy, biking 41 going back up. I
So,
was just curious, would they like have people park at the government buildings and then shuttle them in?
there hasn't been any discussion about shuttles, so, yeah, but. One third quick piece, exciting that we discovered, and I should have realized this, but Chaska Library is turning 100 years old this year,
Yeah,
so.
saw that someplace.
It was February 7th,
Wow.
2023, or 1923, excuse me, so,
What was the date?
February
Last-
7th, 1923.
Last month.
So, there'll be plans at some point, kind of pending around construction, working with Chaska Friends for some celebrating at some point during the year, so.
Do a 2-for-1, isn't it the 20th year?
20th for Chanhassen, 816.
Thanks. Next, we have Western Norwood Young America, Waconia, Watertown.
So, welcome to the Colonial Library. Always love hosting events here. And I saw Jake sort of walked by the window a few minutes ago. So just to highlight that Jacob Manning, he'd been a library assistant up at our Watertown branch. Started there maybe about a half a year or so ago, and he interviewed for and is now our new operations supervisor for the Western branches. So he's settling in after 2 weeks, and talk about jumping into the kind of the deep end is he's, right now, all managers and supervisors have been working with our staffs on goal setting for this year, individual staff goals, and I would just offer the opinion that of all the places I've worked, I think Carver County Library excels compared to any other place I've worked in linking goal setting to library strategic goals and the work of the broader institution and giving a place for staff to really feed into that bigger effort, whether that be through our functional teams like collection and youth services, adult services, that kind of thing. We're just working on projects that are at their local branch. So, but it takes time, and I think I'm going to guess without having talked to Jake, but I know how my day went. And that is, you schedule time to meet with staff, maybe you block off a half an hour, and hour and 15 minutes later, it's like, oh my gosh, we just had this great conversation, or maybe challenging conversation, but it took longer. So at any rate, I know he was out on the road this afternoon, out at the Norwood Young America branch and doing those. So we're all working on that. And I can't remember whether it was employee relations or did we internally set March 15th as the deadline.
We did.
We did, right? And we're sticking to it. So, but it's good, right? I mean, so I don't want to belabor the point, but we're all working on that right now. Youth services team really is very working, talk about deadlines, right? We go to press our deadline for internal planning to document, right, get it written down and to be able to feed to the compilers and editors of the seasonal brochure, is that deadline, I think, is Monday the 27th, Saturday the 25th, something like that. And so we're all working really hard to get dates articulated, things really tied up well enough. May not have the whole bow tied up, but to work really hard to be able to have things set that can then go to print in the brochure. And the reason for what you might think of as a relatively early brochure deadline is that the staff want those things in hand for May 1st when we start to transition the youth services team from doing more of the spring programming for people to participate in, the 50 people plus, 50 kids plus 30 adults coming to story time or whatever, for staff then to have a couple weeks off from the story time schedule to go out into the schools and promote. And we really, over the past couple of years, not been able to do as much of that or any of that because of the pandemic. And where many staff, I think, are looking forward to getting back out into the classrooms and talking up summer reading program and helping kids set their own goals for their reading for the summer. So lots going on with that team as well. Did mention it in the report, but I really do want to thank the city of Watertown for when we brought a request to them that came from a patron for a handicap door opener at the Watertown branch. If you can picture it, when you are on the parking lot on the west side of the building, I think it's west side, and come in that long hallway through City Hall and past those rooms and come into the library, the outer door was handicapped access, the inner door, not at all, right? And so to have that done, so right now there's a ceiling tile that's open and the electrician is working to get all that tied together and operational. And so I'm very glad for that.
What is Jacob's last name?
Manning, M-A-N-N-I-N-G.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just asking out of curiosity, because I mean, several other meetings that we had last year, you all had some problems with the ceiling. How is that situation coming along?
Here in Laconia, that all finally, it took quite a while with the question to flesh that out is, there's a garage above us that is for the apartments that are above us. And we would experience leaks in our ceiling and down through the walls and everything as a result of pipes that just were not 100% solid, right? And so at any rate, since they pulled all those pipes out and replaced them with new material, we haven't had any leaks yet. And I hope they really got it this time. I hope they got it. And Watertown, we haven't had any moisture issues up there. So we'll see how things go this spring, right, with all the elevated moisture in the outside. But so far so good up there. And the Norwood building, chugging along okay there too. So I almost didn't want to say it that we don't have any building problems right now.
Don't say it out loud.
I just always remember that, there was always something going on here with the water.
It was a time where it was just like, which
very
building's gonna
frustrating.
be today? Because between the three buildings, it was just scrambling, so.
It's a long
And it's
haul.
just part of the deal, right, our partnership with our cities. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the last item is any correspondence and all. I think we had a media package at the back.
Cool.
Sorry. Melissa, updates, anything, Matt?
Sure, yeah, state funding, I think it was mentioned, the amount is $4 million, and based on formula, Melissa would get about 1.2 of that. And if you look at regular formula, that'd mean about $70,000 or $80,000 for this system, which aligns pretty nicely with the requests for the year. And then I guess the mention about Dalkey grant, it's not intended to cover operating
Right.
stuff. It's supposed to be one-time new incremental stuff, so it's not lost on me on that. And then the second thing is we had finance committee with Melissa. I think we're more robust and active than we've been in a while on that board. And and I chair that now, and it was super interesting, because at the end of it, I said, can we ever leverage the power of a system of 100 libraries to wrap around Minnesota authors? Because what a great thing it would be is if a new author automatically had 100 books sold out the gates day one. And so it was an education for me of stay in your damn lane, because apparently the St. Paul Library handles author interactions.
Oh.
And so it was bad from one side, but it was good from, and now we know what the path is. So if there's local authors that come in and they're looking for that help and that support, the gal that leads that on behalf of the St. Paul Friends, she is that conduit and that point person. And so I said, well, I'm just thinking about something simpler. Can you push if it hits a filter, can you push a button and have 100 bought on day one? And as an author, I've gone through it. I'm not to your level, but I went through the process. It's a slug, just having the idea and then getting it on paper and then trying to get published and then trying to get speaking engagements. I said, is there anything we can do for the local author community? And the other answer that came back was our executive director is planning a bucket that's an innovation bucket to be able to put behind if somebody came with an idea, can you help accelerate it? And so I'm encouraged by it's not just copy, paste, rinse, repeat. It's looking out in the future as to how can we make this work for the people that are in our libraries. So that's all I had, except for one more thing. I just jotted it down when people were talking. I've seen presence of Carver County's library at the community center, Auburn Manor, Bountiful Basket, and the jail. So oftentimes when the books are end of life, I didn't even realize this. When we talk more and more, I'm like, oh, we do that too, and we do that, and we do that. I'm sure there's a lot of work that's put into it, but to see the library extended beyond just the four walls of the existing library out in the community, don't take that for granted, because it doesn't happen in every library. So, thanks.
Did you say the library is putting books in the jail? Mm-hmm. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we got a,
Don't ask why I was in the jail, Alan.
yeah.
Well, you know.
I'm really glad I was the one who picked up this call, because that's what I did for 15 years at Hennepin County Library, was library services to correctional facilities.
Right.
And so we have sent, I think, 4 boxes from Chanhassen, probably after your book sale. We put together another box, and I actually can see, I had a very, very brief conversation with the contact over there about trying to establish some of the things we did at Hennepin with the jail here and doing a Dolphy grant, which would be, we would provide some books, but in return, they would let us try to get every person leaving a library card, and also set up a program like we did at Hennepin, Read to Me, where we would talk to the inmates who had children about the importance of reading their kids, and maybe even go as far as giving them a book that they can send home. So I'm hoping this thing that started small, which had happened before COVID, gets some more traction behind it. Because I just know from my experience at Hennepin that this is, we used to always talk about libraries change lives, and that's a nice slogan, but I can tell you from my experience working Hennepin County Library with correctional facility inmates, it really does make a difference.
And I would echo that, if I may. I mean,
Yeah.
we, in a different context, but the work of with reading in the jail in Beltrami County, when I was at the Bemidji Public Library, right, so we're across the street from the county facilities and everything like that, and our early childhood initiative did a similar Read to Me type of thing, where the inmates were recording books that they were read, and then those recordings went home to the children and making those connections. I mean, that was like multiple great things happening with something like that. So, yeah, kudos, Patrick, to the work you're doing there.
Cool.
My wife, Joyce, there's a personal story here, and it's not exactly confidential, but my wife, Joyce, was rather irritated at my third daughter when she was drunk because of name calling, and slapped her and ended up in jail for an overnighter a year ago, December 2021. And I picked her up. But while she was there, staying in the inner room, there's an inner room and an outer room. They asked her if she wanted to come out and take a break in the elder room. She picked up a book and said, no, I guess I'm gonna get a good night's sleep when I'm here, and I'm gonna read this entire book, and she did, you know. You know, there's no secret, you know, about my lifestyle and the issues I have, but anyway, I just wanted to say, you know, give you an account of something that's really happening, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't remember what the book was. It was, it wasn't something I would have read.
So last item is Library Foundation.
Well, the Library Foundation is going really well. It's going smoothly. And Susan Blatz is passing out the information I need to do. And it's almost automatic. So it's hardly any labor intended. And there's a library meeting we've set up a schedule, it's every 4 months, and it's smooth. The panel there, the people in it are really savvy. I wanted to bring up that the Friends of the Library in Norwood Young America had a meeting Thursday the 8th, and Alan wasn't able to attend. He went with some city council people from Norwood Young America up to the Capitol on the Hill, which was a really nice day for me to interact with my colleagues and interact with a couple representatives. But the point I wanted to make was Lori, what's her name, Stessevarsen was there.
Oh.
And she just came in and she ran a panel. And I mean, her comprehensive skills are just luminous. It was just really fun. So
Well, hopefully
yeah,
it'll be
I
nice.
think it's gonna be really something, so I encourage you. And that's all, but I am gonna be selling books on Thursday, so 1 to 3. It's 1,300 to 1,500.
And I forgot to mention, thank you, is Norwood, the Friends of Norwood Young America Library has a book sale this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Hours that the library's open.
Didn't they come up with a nice way of selling? They made the bags $8 or something, but
Bag of books. Bag of books, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And Chaska has a sale on Saturday as well.
This coming Saturday.
Yep,
Competition.
yeah, friendly competition.
When is the Highway 41 construction gonna start really be,
In the next couple of weeks.
is it?
Yep.
So this will be just before it kicks in,
Mhm.
the sale, and then if you do another sale, it'll be in the middle of it.
It's just a pop-up sale,
Yep.
so it won't be a huge sale.
You guys got a pop-up tent that almost
Yeah.
flew
Yeah.
away.
Collapse from the snow.
I think I was there when you guys were trying to put it up, it was almost trying to fly away at the same time. The last time I saw it.
Well, I guess I could add on to the chess club. Every Thursday, last Thursday of the month, but nobody showed up in February because snow. But I'm interacting with a number of people. One guy's a lawyer, you know, who's played chess as a kid, and somehow there's a group of chess players that hopefully will come together. And the big deal is Stifting Fest, Charles. Yeah, we want to have a chess tournament out in the open, playing chess, and I'd like to invite you to that. I know you play chess.
Do it at the park, you know, like where the Chaska library outside that park. Set up in a couple of tables and see if anybody walks by in the morning and play.
You're gonna hustle them? You're gonna be playing for money?
Not right, so I'm not.
Yeah, he's
Which is the difference between the black and white ones?
I think
Yeah,
he-
right.
I think he is a hustler, no question about it. Cheap shot.
And then there's the media packages, I think y'all can, you gonna say anything about it?
No, just hope you all, have an opportunity to read through and see the, great columns that both Patrick and Paul contribute. And thanks to Michelle Myers, which is one of Patrick's staff members that compiles all this. So I think it's great to see the opportunities that we have with our local media, definitely. It's an important piece, so.
Thank you. that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye,
aye.
it's over.
So moved.
Thank